Welcome to the Five Towns Jewish Times podcast, bringing you the latest stories, insights, and conversations that matter most to you and your community. Here is your host, Larry Gordon.
Okay, we are back with our guest, Rabbi Mendy Kotlarsky, who has assumed the position from his father, Rabbi Moshe Kotlarsky, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, a great friend for many years of our family, and you have big shoes to fill. I'm sure you've heard that from a lot of people, the shoe imagery. But that's the fact of the matter. And but this is a big week. Is this the biggest week with the Kinus Hashluchim with 5,000, 6,000 people coming in from around the world and to get together to spend Shabbos together, to have that great dinner on Sunday afternoon? Is this the biggest week? This is the high point of the week for Chabad in general.
Hi, Larry, and really nice to catch up. It's been a year and a half, and the beauty of having someone else's shoes is that it comes with all of the backing and support. So Baruch Hashem,
Yes.
thanks to the Rebbe's brachas. But yes, this is a week that brings together thousands of Jewish leaders. We really can see the Rebbe's reach and impact all around the world. And for Chabad, this is the homecoming. This is when everybody comes back to recharge, to connect, to support each other, to recommit to the mission. So yes, obviously there's a lot of big weeks. Last week we had 2,500 college students in New York from universities around the world. We're just launched our Sitin Shabbaton, which with the iconic Times Square, and we're expecting close to 5,000 teams this year from all around the world. So, thank God, Crown Heights is not foreign to big weekends, but I think this is something that is extremely meaningful. This was important to the Rebbe. This is like a family reunion. This is much more personal, much more real.
Well, you're a young man, obviously, and there's a new generation of shluchim out there. But one of the things I hear from a lot of the young people that want to go on shlichus is that every spot in the world is pretty much taken. How do you address that? How do you deal with that?
A lot of the spots in the world are taken, but not every Jew is being reached. So there's a
Yes.
lot more work to do. My father would often say the Rebbe's goal was to reach every Jew everywhere, and a person can only have so many meaningful relationships. So in order for us to reach every Jew, whether it's 300, 400, 500 personal relationships, you need to have, a shliach for every 2, 3, 400 Jews, and that's the goal. And that's what we're focused on. So, just to give you some perspective, this past year, a shliach went out every 1.5 days. A new shliach went out. So it's
Hmm.
not like shluchim are not going out. Over
So
200 this
what
year.
are some of the more exotic locations that were people moved into? I mean, I saw a video about a guy that moved into Vietnam. I'm sure you saw it too. You know.
There was just a flood in Hoi An, Vietnam. We were focused in
Yeah.
Jamaica on the Jamaica hurricane, but around the world there's a lot
Yeah.
of moving pieces. There's another shliach moving to Vietnam this week, to a new city. Again, there's exotic and sometimes far could be, in New York State when you drive down the 80 and you're the same
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 hours away from Jewish education or a mikvah or kosher food
Yeah.
is just as far as Hoi An, Vietnam.
So it's just as challenging in different parts of the world. So what is on the drawing board? Earlier today, I spoke with my cousin Yossi Goldman. I think he's your cousin, your nephew, your uncle. What is he to you? Something like that, right?
We're all
Something.
related always.
I know that. I
This
heard from
time back.
someone recently. I heard somebody said that now at Chabad weddings are using Satmar Adam because everybody's craving, so they're fussy. They can't be Adam under the kippah. But he was 50 years in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the Rebbe told him 50 years ago or more, whatever it was, that this was going to be his place and that it was going to be good till Mashiach comes.
Yeah.
So.
So my uncle Yassi is incredible, and he also is between his column and his speaking engagements,
Right,
extremely
right.
talented and gets to spread his talents around the world. But I think a large part of what we're focusing on today are the current challenges and going into the future. There's a whole new world, a whole bunch of new frontiers between AI, and the leap in technology. On the flip side, you have the post Simchas Torah, the October 8th Jew that's been reawakened. There's been incredible uptick. We've seen over 30% over Tishrei, the high holidays, 30% increase in people participating. And the question is, how to teach them more Torah, how to get them to do more mitzvahs. We're also marking 50 years since some of the iconic mitzvahs, the campaigns that the Rebbe launched, Mitzvah Chinuch, education, Jewish education, how important it is. Ahavas Yisrael is another 50 years since then. So there's a lot of milestones that we're marking. There's a lot of current events, and really trying to write the roadmap into the future, which is
So,
taking on.
so over the short term, what are some of the things on the drawing board that you think could not have been imagined 10 or 20 years ago that you're excited about undertaking?
Um, Look, on the one hand, nothing changes. The Torah is Kihem Chayenu V'Orech Yameinu, and it's also B'chol Yom Yeh Beinecha Kechadashim. So everything is the same, yet everything is anew.
Different.
The
Yeah.
solutions are the same. We're not changing anything. The beautiful thing about the world of Shluchis is that AI can't replace EI. Emotional intelligence, reaching people, influencing, changing lives, being makar of people is not something that a machine can do. At the same time, there's a tremendous amount of new challenges and new opportunities and new solutions that we're working towards. We've come up with some incredible solutions, like the seating lounges, like the Medet Chabad marriage solution, which is going to match people up and start reversing the trends of intermarriage. We're trying to tackle the big issues. I would love to have. We're working on a creative approach to being able to make sure that no community is more than 2 hours away from a mikvah. These are foundational issues. It's extremely expensive to build a mikvah today, but we've come up with a mechanism, and we're starting to test it to be able to make sure that every community has at least a mikvah. So there's across the board, technology, resources, support.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the United States for a minute. It's only a few years ago that I think at one of the Kinus dinners, they announced that the last spot was taken up. Last state was finally had a Chabad presence. I think it was South Dakota, if I'm not mistaken, was the last spot on the globe.
Sioux
So
Falls,
where was that?
Sioux Falls,
In South Dakota.
yeah.
So
Rabbi Alperovich.
are the Shluchim? What is the balance between uh, Jews that live there and have lived there for decades, or maybe even centuries in their family, and those that are traveling through? Some places where there's just no local population of Jews, but there's business people that, I mean, a place like the Congo, for example. It's always very intriguing to read about the fact that there's a Chabad Shliach in the Congo. Who's passing through the Congo? What is the nature of the shlichus, between a Chabad Shliach in Long Island and the Congo?
So first of all, there actually happens to be, somewhat of a local community in the Congo. It's a central place in Africa. Not thousands of people, but again, how many people come to Shul, to your Shul? You have 100 people in Shul, 200 people?
Yeah,
So as
yeah,
long as you have
sometimes.
2, 3, 400 Jews around the country that are doing business, that are building the infrastructure, that are advising the government, along with business people that come in from Monday to Thursday. But if you talk about the Congo this week, the president of Israel, Bushi Herzog, was there visiting the government, and they actually hosted a fully kosher banquet with kosher champagne, kosher food for everybody in attendance that the shliach prepared over there. So I think that besides for the besides for the community, besides for the business people, besides for the travelers, and I think it's important, especially even for your audience, to understand two things. Yes, many people look to Chabad, for, oh, can I visit there? If there's a minyan, if there's Chol of Yisrael, if there's kosher food, it's a great place to stop on vacation. But for many visitors, and I've been in countless Chabad houses from Thailand to Peru, where for many of these visitors, their first interaction with Jewish life comes at these Friday night meals at this Chabad house, and that sparks and triggers the ability for them to learn more and to go back home. And in the words that I heard, a young Ashkenazi Jew from Tel Aviv crying at 1 o'clock in the morning at a Chabad house in Bangkok. Why did I have to come here to be able to tap into my heritage? But I think also for many of the religious Jews, and we've seen this all over, becoming exposed to Hasidus, Hafatzas Hamayonis, the Rebbe's incredible insight on Torah, the whole, the whole contribution of Hasidic thought and philosophy is something that many people that live in regular communities might come for a cup of milk, but then have a chance to learn Tanya or learn, Hasidic philosophy, which is not something they would normally have the time for, and then that gives them a whole nother sense of life and excitement. So we don't underestimate, or the one-time interactions, or as the Rebbe would say, every mitzvah is an infinite connection to the Almighty, to the Ein Sof, and therefore every mitzvah counts. But at the same time, I wouldn't discount what a light post and an embassy for the Jewish people in places like the Congo does. And we see it, and we know it from many different on many different levels, especially in today's global issues, where the shliach represents Yiddishkeit, but that also gets to enable support for a lot of other major issues that are facing the Jewish people today. So there's a lot that goes into it.
I hear you. In all these countries where there's a Chabad presence, especially the more, outlying, far out places, is it imperative or is it just natural that whoever the shliach is has a relationship with the local government or the national government, if it's a country unto itself? Is there automatic connection? Is that one of the goals to create a relationship with local government?
I don't know that it's one of the goals, but it's natural when you represent, especially when you're the only one representing in over 80 countries. Chabad is pretty much the only active representation of Judaism, and today Judaism is something that people take into consideration, even if they're not a big part of the population, on many different levels. So I wouldn't say it's a goal, but at the same time,
A byproduct. A
there is
byproduct of being
value,
there.
and there's value in the Akiru v'yedu kol yoshvei sevel. That there are Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach. There are many other Jewish ideas that need to be shared with the larger world. There needs to be, there needs to be a proper civilization. That's one of the goals of the Bnei Noach. So we don't forget that either in these types of places.
So I know you have to go in a couple of minutes, but let me just ask you. I observed from the distance your father's schedule. He was always in a different part of the globe on any given day, any given week. I don't know, but how do you create or develop a schedule? How do you know what you're doing for the next 4 weeks? Who designs the itinerary, and how do you know where to go, and why do you go there?
Ask my wife when I come home and say
She,
I'm thinking of going tonight.
uh-huh,
Okay, thank you for letting me know. Look, there are things that are set. We have thank God in today's world with technology like we're doing right now. There's
right.
a lot that can be done and delegated to other people. But even with that, there are regional conferences that bring together shluchim from 10, 15, 20, 30 different countries, or regional, in each country. There are important occasions or important meetings that you have to go through. And look, unfortunately, there was a tragedy last week, and I had to jump on a plane, go to Israel for 12 hours because I needed to be
Right.
there that amount of time. And you make
Yeah.
the best use out of your time. So there's rhyme and reason, but I can't. Like I
That
say,
was the that was
Chabad
a,
has a business. Chabad has a business model. It's just not conventional.
That was the story of the young man that lost his life. That's what you're referring to? Going to Israel for 12 hours?
Yes, that was yes, that was. I mean,
So,
while I was there, I got to meet some of the hostages and some other important meetings. But he was an incredible young boy. He was a young boy who knew the entire Tanya and Mishnayos by heart
really?
at a very young age. He grew up,
Yeah.
and it's a terrible tragedy. And look, it's an opportunity to call on to everybody to look out for people around you that need a hug and need to be loved. And not necessarily is that his situation, but uh,
He was
whatever it is,
16, he was a teenager.
call
He
to
was 16
action.
years old.
It's a call to action for each of us to think about what we can do and how we can be nicer and better to people around us. And more
So, where are you going next, right after the Kinus weekend? What's next on the drawing board?
this is the Kinus weekend is a pretty is a pretty a cool weekend. It connects you with the whole world. What do you say? What goes all around the world but stays in a corner? So
Yeah,
we can go all
yeah.
around the Kinus.
So,
I
so
have a trip.
you're,
I have a trip coming up to South America, to Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. But again, these are whatever, just part and parcel. Today, thank God, travel is not what it used to be. You get into a car and you drive to Washington D.C. or to Virginia for 7 hours, or you can fly to Europe in 7 hours. It's pretty much the
so
same.
would you characterize it? It's like 6,000 people coming into Grand Heights for the weekend. Is that about right? Is that the right number?
We are actually over 6,000 people, 4,000
Uh-huh.
Shluchim, and
Okay.
we had to close the registration because we
Wow.
went above and beyond. But thank God, the Rebbe's army continues to grow and have impact, and hopefully we'll be zeichet to have this kinnis in Yerushalayim with
Yeah.
Mashiach. That's the
It's
goal
a
in the
shame.
grand ballroom of the Beis Hamikdash.
I'm going to let you
Hopefully,
go.
you
I
can
know
do
you're
something
very
with this. I'll
busy.
talk to you.
I thank you for your time and Hatzlacha Rabbah.